Welcome back to Coin Discovery USA, the place where ordinary pocket change can lead to extraordinary discoveries, and where every coin has a story waiting to be uncovered. If you love searching through jars of pennies, checking the coins in your wallet, or learning what makes certain Lincoln cents stand out from the millions produced each year, then you are in the right place. Today we are taking a close look at the fascinating 2002 Lincoln Penny, a coin that most people overlook every single day. At first glance it appears to be nothing more than a common 1-cent piece, but experienced collectors know that appearances can be deceiving. While the overwhelming majority of 2002 Lincoln pennies are worth only face value or a small premium depending on condition, a tiny number of coins with genuine mint errors, unusual striking characteristics, or exceptional preservation have attracted serious attention from collectors. That is why searching through your spare change can still be exciting, because you never know when one unusual coin might be waiting to surprise you. Before we begin, make sure you stay with us until the very end, because every detail matters when it comes to identifying a potentially valuable Lincoln penny. Many people unknowingly spend coins that collectors would happily add to their collections simply because they do not recognize the signs of a mint error or a rare variety. Learning these details could completely change the way you look at the pennies passing through your hands every day. The Lincoln penny has been one of the most collected coins in American history for generations. Since its introduction in 1909, collectors have searched for key dates, unusual varieties, dramatic mint mistakes, and coins preserved in exceptional condition. Every year of production tells its own story, and the 2002 issue is no exception. Even though it was produced in large numbers, that does not automatically mean every example is identical. Coin production involves enormous machinery operating under incredible pressure, and whenever that complex process experiences an unexpected problem, unusual coins can be created. Those unexpected mistakes are what collectors call mint errors, and they are often among the most exciting discoveries in modern coin collecting. Understanding how these errors happen begins with understanding how a coin is made. Before a penny ever reaches circulation, it starts as a blank metal disc known as a planchet. These planchets are manufactured according to strict specifications before being transported to the minting presses. Each planchet must have the correct size, weight, thickness, and composition. Once the blank enters the striking chamber, dies engraved with the design of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse strike the metal with tremendous force. The pressure permanently transfers every detail into the surface of the coin. Most of the time this process works exactly as intended, producing millions of nearly identical pennies. Occasionally, however, something goes wrong. A planchet may not be positioned correctly. A die may become damaged or develop cracks. Grease may fill portions of the die. The collar may fail. Foreign material may interfere with the strike. Each of these situations can create a different type of collectible error. One of the first things collectors examine on a 2002 Lincoln penny is whether the coin displays any signs of doubling. A doubled die error occurs during the creation of the die itself rather than during the striking process. If the die receives multiple slightly misaligned impressions while being manufactured, every coin struck by that die can display noticeable doubling in certain areas. Collectors carefully inspect the date, the word Liberty, the motto I in God We Trust, and other design elements under magnification. Genuine doubled dies often display crisp separation rather than simple blurriness. Distinguishing a true doubled die from machine doubling requires careful study, but the possibility alone keeps collectors searching through thousands of pennies. Another fascinating possibility involves off-center strikes. Normally the planchet is perfectly aligned before the dies strike it. If the blank shifts out of position, part of the design will be missing while an unstruck crescent-shaped area remains visible. The value of an off-center coin depends on several factors, including how far off-center the strike occurred and whether important design elements, like the date, remain visible. A dramatic off-center 2002 Lincoln penny with a clearly readable date may attract significant collector interest because it demonstrates an obvious mistake made during the minting process. Broadstrike errors represent another category that fascinates collectors. During a normal strike, a retaining collar surrounds the planchet to create the finished diameter and raised edge. If that collar fails to engage properly, the coin can spread outward under pressure, producing a coin that appears wider than normal while lacking the standard raised rim. These broadstrike coins are immediately recognizable to experienced collectors because they look noticeably different from ordinary pennies. Although not every broadstrike is extremely valuable, well-preserved examples often command premiums because they illustrate an unusual failure during production. Die cracks are another feature that collectors watch for very carefully. As coin dies strike millions of planchets, they gradually wear down under constant stress. Eventually small fractures can develop across the die surface. Coins struck after those fractures appear will display raised lines corresponding to the cracked portions of the die. Some die cracks remain tiny while others continue expanding until large sections of the die become unstable. Advanced cracks sometimes produce cuds, which occur when a portion of the die actually breaks away. Coins struck afterward exhibit raised blobs of metal where the missing die section allowed extra metal to flow. These dramatic errors often become highly collectible because they document the progressive deterioration of a working die. Grease-filled die errors present a completely different appearance. During production, lubricants and debris may accumulate inside recessed portions of a die. When enough grease fills those areas, the die cannot fully impress the corresponding design onto the coin. The result may be weak or entirely missing letters, numbers, or design elements. Unlike worn coins, grease-filled die errors occur during the striking process itself. Collectors examine these carefully because unusual missing details can sometimes create striking visual effects. Strike-through errors add another layer of excitement. Occasionally a foreign object such as grease, cloth fibers, metal fragments, or other debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking. The obstruction prevents part of the design from transferring normally, leaving an unusual impression or missing area. Every strike-through error is unique because no two foreign objects create exactly the same pattern. That uniqueness often increases collector interest. Clipped planchets are equally fascinating. Before blanks become finished coins, they are punched from large metal sheets. If the punching process overlaps an existing hole, or the edge of the metal strip, an incomplete blank may result. When struck, the finished coin retains the missing curved section known as a clip. Genuine clipped planchets display specific characteristics including distortion opposite the clip that help experts distinguish authentic mint errors from post-mint damage. Collectors enjoy finding clipped planchets because they provide visible evidence of an error that occurred before the coin was even struck. Another possibility involves wrong planchet errors. On extremely rare occasions, a planchet intended for another denomination enters the penny production line. When struck with Lincoln cent dies, the resulting coin may differ in color, weight, thickness, or diameter depending on the incorrect blank used. These errors are exceptionally scarce because modern mint quality control systems usually detect such mistakes before coins leave the facility. Nevertheless, documented wrong planchet errors remain among the most desirable categories of modern mint mistakes because they combine rarity with an immediately obvious appearance. Collectors also pay close attention to die chips. Small fragments may break away from raised portions of the die, producing tiny raised lumps on the finished coin. While many die chips are relatively common and add only modest value, unusual locations or especially large examples can attract greater interest. Over time, studying die chips helps collectors understand how dies wear throughout their working lives. Beyond mint errors, condition plays an enormous role in determining collector value. A coin that has circulated heavily for years may show worn lettering, flattened details, scratches, discoloration, and countless contact marks. In contrast, a coin preserved immediately after leaving the mint can retain brilliant original luster, sharp design details, and virtually flawless surfaces. Professional grading services evaluate these characteristics using the mint state scale, where higher grades often become increasingly difficult to achieve. Even a common date coin may become highly desirable if it survives in an exceptionally high grade with outstanding eye appeal. This is one reason knowledgeable collectors recommend checking every roll of pennies carefully instead of assuming modern coins cannot be collectible. Many high-grade examples disappear into circulation where they quickly acquire damage that permanently reduces their collector appeal. Another interesting aspect involves die state progression. A freshly polished die produces crisp, sharp details with strong luster. As production continues, tiny abrasions develop, polishing lines may appear, die cracks begin forming, and eventually larger defects emerge. Collectors who specialize in die varieties often enjoy identifying which stage of a die's life produced a particular coin. This detective work transforms ordinary coin searching into an investigation of mint production history. Every mark tells part of the story, and learning to interpret those clues makes the hobby endlessly fascinating. Many beginning collectors assume older automatically means more valuable, but that is not always true. Age alone rarely determines a coin's desirability. Instead, rarity, condition, demand, historical significance, and unusual production characteristics combine to influence collector interest. That is why even a relatively modern coin like the 2002 Lincoln Penny deserves careful examination. While most examples remain common, the discovery of a genuine mint error or exceptionally preserved specimen can make one coin stand out dramatically from millions of others. Experienced collectors understand that patience is one of the greatest tools in coin hunting. Searching through hundreds or even thousands of pennies may produce nothing unusual for weeks before suddenly revealing an exciting error. That possibility keeps enthusiasts returning to bank rolls, estate sales, flea markets, inherited collections, and jars of accumulated pocket change. Every coin examined teaches something new about minting technology, production quality, and the remarkable variety hidden within everyday circulation. As your knowledge grows, you begin noticing details that once seemed invisible. Tiny raised lines become possible die cracks. Slightly missing letters suggest grease-filled dies. Curved missing sections hint at clipped planchets. Unusual shapes prompt careful measurements and weighing. The more experience you gain, the greater your chances of recognizing a genuine collectible before someone else does. Next, the 2016 Lincoln Penny, a modern coin that many people spend without a second thought, but one that has become increasingly interesting among collectors who understand how minting mistakes, exceptional preservation, and unusual production characteristics can transform an everyday coin into something much more desirable. Although millions of 2016 Lincoln pennies were produced for circulation, experienced collectors know that no production process is absolutely perfect. Whenever thousands of coins are struck every hour using enormous mechanical presses operating under tremendous pressure, small imperfections and unexpected events can occasionally occur, creating unusual coins that stand apart from the rest. Those unexpected differences are exactly what fuel the excitement of coin collecting, because every unusual detail tells part of the story of how that particular coin was created. Before you spend another penny or toss one into a change jar, it is worth learning what experts examine when searching for valuable examples, because understanding these details could completely change the way you look at the coins that pass through your hands every day. The Lincoln Penny has remained one of America's most collected coins ever since its introduction in 1909, and every generation of collectors has searched for key dates, mint errors, doubled dies, and extraordinary high-grade examples that survived in remarkable condition. The 2016 issue may seem far too modern to attract serious attention, but experienced collectors understand that rarity is not determined by age alone. Instead, value depends upon a combination of condition, collector demand, unusual production characteristics, certified authenticity, and genuine mint errors that distinguish one coin from millions of others. Every coin begins its journey long before the striking process. The first step involves manufacturing blank metal discs known as planchets. These blanks are carefully produced according to precise specifications involving diameter, thickness, weight, and metallic composition. Once the planchets are inspected, they move into the striking presses where engraved dies carrying the image of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Union Shield design on the reverse transfer every detail under tremendous pressure. Under normal conditions, this process creates uniform coins that appear nearly identical. However, when even one small part of this carefully controlled process fails to perform exactly as intended, unusual results can appear, creating the mint errors that collectors eagerly seek. One of the first possibilities specialists investigate on any 2016 Lincoln Penny involves doubled die varieties. A true double die does not occur because the coin moved during striking. Instead, it originates during the creation of the die itself. If multiple impressions become slightly misaligned while manufacturing the die, every coin struck from that die may display distinct doubling in specific design elements. Collectors carefully inspect the date, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, Lincoln's portrait, and even small design features under magnification, looking for sharp, separated lines rather than simple blurring. Genuine double dies can become highly desirable because they represent an error affecting every coin struck by that particular die before it was removed from service. Distinguishing authentic double dies from machine doubling requires patience, experience, and close examination, but learning the difference is one of the most rewarding parts of the hobby. Another fascinating category involves off-center strikes. Normally, every planchet is perfectly positioned beneath the dies before striking occurs. If the blank shifts even slightly, part of the design may fail to appear while an unstruck crescent-shaped area remains visible. The degree of displacement determines both appearance and collector interest. Minor off-center strikes may only show a subtle misalignment, while dramatic examples can display large blank sections with only part of Lincoln's portrait remaining. Coins retaining a fully visible date while showing a substantial off-center strike often attract greater collector attention because their authenticity and identity remain immediately recognizable. Broadstrike errors represent another possibility that specialists examine closely. During normal striking operations, a retaining collar surrounds the planchet and controls the finished diameter while creating the raised edge. If the collar fails to function properly, the expanding metal spreads outward without restraint, producing a coin that appears wider than normal and lacks the fully formed rim expected on a standard Lincoln penny. Broad strikes immediately stand out when compared beside ordinary coins because of their unusual shape and dimensions. Their distinctive appearance makes them popular among collectors who appreciate dramatic mint errors that can be recognized without magnification. Die cracks develop gradually as production continues over extended periods. Every working die experiences incredible stress after striking countless planchets, and eventually tiny fractures may begin forming across the hardened steel surface. When those cracked dies continue striking coins, raised lines appear on the finished pieces corresponding to the damaged areas. Initially, these lines may be extremely small, requiring magnification for detection, but continued production often causes the cracks to expand. In some cases, portions of the die eventually break away entirely, producing what collectors call cuds. These raised blobs of metal result from missing sections of the die that allow additional metal to flow into the damaged area during striking. Large cuds create dramatic visual effects that often become favorites among mint-era collectors because they document the progressive failure of a working die over time. Grease-filled die errors create a completely different appearance. During production, grease and tiny debris particles sometimes accumulate inside recessed portions of the die. When enough material fills these cavities, portions of the design fail to transfer completely onto the struck coin. The resulting penny may exhibit weak lettering, partially missing numbers, incomplete design elements, or smooth areas where details should normally appear. Unlike post-mint wear, grease-filled die errors originate during production and often display crisp boundaries separating fully struck areas from weakly impressed regions. These unusual appearances encourage careful study because they demonstrate another way that seemingly ordinary production processes can produce unexpected results. Strike-through errors provide another exciting possibility. Occasionally, foreign materials such as cloth fibers, grease, metal fragments, or other debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet at the exact moment of striking. Instead of transferring the intended design, the obstruction interferes with the impression, leaving unusual marks, recessed areas, or missing portions of the design. Every strike-through error is unique because the shape, size, and texture of the interfering object differ from one incident to another. Collectors enjoy these errors because no two examples are exactly alike, making every discovery a one-of-a-kind piece of minting history. Clipped planchets begin before the coin is ever struck. Blank planchets are punched from long metal strips using powerful presses. If one punch overlaps a previous hole or reaches the edge of the strip, the resulting blank may contain a curved missing section. After striking, the finished penny retains this distinctive clip. Authentic clipped planchets display characteristic metal flow opposite the missing area, helping experts distinguish genuine mint errors from damage occurring after the coin entered circulation. These errors are especially appealing because the missing section immediately attracts attention, making them relatively easy for beginners to recognize. Wrong planchet errors represent one of the rarest possibilities in modern coin production. Occasionally, a blank intended for another denomination enters the penny striking presses by mistake. When Lincoln cent dies strike the incorrect blank, the resulting coin may differ in color, diameter, weight, thickness, or composition depending upon the type of planchet involved. Such mistakes are extremely uncommon because modern quality control procedures are designed to identify and remove incorrect blanks before they reach circulation. Nevertheless, authenticated wrong planchet errors remain among the most fascinating and desirable modern mint mistakes because they combine remarkable rarity with obvious visual differences. Die chips provide another category of collectible mint errors. Tiny fragments occasionally break away from raised portions of a working die, leaving small voids that produce raised lumps on struck coins. Many die chips are minor and relatively common, but larger examples or chips occurring in unusual locations often receive additional attention from collectors specializing in die deterioration. Over time, these seemingly insignificant imperfections help document how dies gradually wear while producing millions of coins. Another important factor influencing collector demand involves the quality of the strike itself. Even when no dramatic error exists, some coins exhibit exceptionally sharp details because they were struck with fresh dies operating under ideal pressure. Others display weaker features resulting from die wear or reduced striking pressure. Specialists compare fine details throughout Lincoln's hair, facial features, lettering, and the Union Shield to determine the overall sharpness of the strike. Well-struck coins often possess stronger eye appeal than examples showing soft or incomplete details. Luster represents another critical characteristic. Freshly struck pennies display a distinctive mint brilliance created as metal flows into every recess of the dies during striking. This original luster reflects light in a unique way and often disappears as coins circulate and accumulate scratches, fingerprints, oxidation, and environmental exposure. Collectors prize coins retaining complete original mint luster because such examples indicate careful preservation from the moment they left the mint. High-grade coins become increasingly difficult to locate because even minimal handling introduces tiny contact marks that reduce the overall grade. Professional grading services carefully evaluate every surface using standardized criteria before assigning numerical grades that significantly influence collector confidence and market desirability. Many beginning collectors assume that only spectacular mint errors deserve attention, but experienced numismatists understand that outstanding preservation alone can distinguish one coin from millions of others. A common date Lincoln penny surviving in exceptional mint state condition with blazing luster, razor-sharp details, and virtually flawless surfaces may attract substantial collector interest simply because so few comparable examples exist. That is why knowledgeable collectors recommend examining every roll of bank-wrapped pennies and every handful of pocket change rather than assuming modern coins hold no surprises. Hidden treasures are not always dramatic errors. Sometimes they are simply extraordinary survivors that escaped years of circulation while retaining their original beauty. Next, the 2018 Lincoln Penny, a modern coin that millions of people have handled without giving it a second thought. At first glance, it may seem like just another everyday 1-cent coin, but experienced collectors understand that appearances can be deceiving. Modern minting technology is incredibly precise, yet no manufacturing process is completely perfect. Even with advanced quality control, unusual mint errors, striking varieties, and exceptionally preserved coins occasionally leave the mint and enter circulation. Those rare exceptions are what makes searching through ordinary pocket change so exciting because every coin has the possibility of revealing something unexpected. Before you spend another penny or toss one into a change jar, it is worth taking a closer look because understanding what collectors search for can completely change the way you view the coins passing through your hands every day. The Lincoln penny has remained one of the most popular and widely collected United States coins ever since it first appeared in 1909. Generations of collectors have searched for important dates, fascinating die varieties, unusual mint mistakes, and coins preserved in outstanding condition. Although the 2018 Lincoln Penny is a relatively modern issue, that does not automatically mean every example is identical or uninteresting. In fact, many collectors specialize in modern coins because they enjoy discovering subtle varieties, impressive mint errors, and pristine examples that survived without the wear and damage commonly found on circulated coins. Every Lincoln penny begins its journey as a blank metal disc called a planchet. These planchets are manufactured according to exact specifications involving diameter, thickness, weight, and composition before they are transported to the striking presses. At the mint, enormous presses force engraved dies into the planchet with tremendous pressure, transferring every detail of Abraham Lincoln's portrait to the front and the Union Shield design to the reverse. Under normal conditions, millions of nearly identical pennies are produced with remarkable consistency. However, when any part of this complex process experiences an unexpected problem, unusual coins can result. Those unexpected differences are known as mint errors, and they represent some of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of coin collecting. One of the first things knowledgeable collectors examine on any 2018 Lincoln penny is whether the coin displays evidence of a doubled die. Unlike machine doubling, which occurs during the striking process and usually carries little collector interest, a genuine doubled die originates during the creation of the working die itself. If multiple impressions become slightly misaligned while the die is being manufactured, every coin struck from that die may exhibit noticeable doubling in specific areas of the design. Collectors inspect the date, the word Liberty, the inscription I in God We Trust, Lincoln's facial details, and other small design elements under magnification, looking for sharp separation that indicates a true double die rather than simple strike-related distortion. Finding a genuine double die can be exciting because it reflects a mistake affecting every coin produced from that particular die before it was retired. Another important possibility involves off-center strikes. During normal production, every planchet must be perfectly positioned beneath the dies before the strike occurs. If the blank shifts out of alignment, only part of the design transfers correctly while the remaining portion of the coin remains blank. The appearance depends on how far the planchet moved before striking. Minor off-center strikes may only display slight misalignment, while dramatic examples can leave large blank crescents around the edge of the coin. Collectors generally appreciate examples that remain identifiable by retaining the full date, while displaying a significant percentage of off-center striking because these combine visual appeal with clear attribution. Broadstrike errors provide another interesting example of how minting equipment can occasionally malfunction. During a normal strike, a retaining collar surrounds the planchet to establish its final diameter and create the raised rim around the edge. If the collar fails to engage properly, the metal expands outward beyond its intended dimensions, producing a coin that appears wider than normal and lacks the typical raised edge. Broad strikes often attract collector attention because they look dramatically different from ordinary pennies while clearly demonstrating an error that occurred during production rather than after the coin entered circulation. Die cracks represent another fascinating area of study among collectors. Coining dies experience enormous stress throughout their working lives as they repeatedly strike metal planchets under tremendous pressure. Over time, microscopic fractures may develop in the hardened steel. As these cracks grow larger, coins struck by the damaged die begin displaying raised lines corresponding to the fractured areas. Initially, these lines may require magnification to detect, but continued use often causes the cracks to expand significantly. In advanced stages, portions of the die may actually break away completely, producing what collectors call cuds. These raised blobs of metal occur because additional metal flows into the missing section of the damaged die during striking. Large cuds can create dramatic visual effects that make such coins especially interesting to collectors who enjoy studying die deterioration. Grease-filled die errors occur in an entirely different way. During production, grease, dirt, and other debris may accumulate inside recessed portions of the working die. When enough material fills these recesses, the die cannot fully impress every design element onto the planchet. The finished coin may display weak lettering, partially missing numbers, faded details, or smooth areas where strong design features should normally appear. Because these imperfections originate during striking, they differ significantly from post-mint where caused by circulation. Collectors examine grease-filled die errors carefully because unusual missing details can create distinctive appearances that reveal another aspect of the minting process. Strike-through errors provide another exciting possibility. Occasionally a foreign object such as grease, cloth fibers, metal shavings, or other debris becomes trapped between the die and the planchet at the exact moment the coin is struck. The obstruction prevents normal transfer of part of the design, leaving an unusual recessed impression or missing detail. Since every foreign object has its own unique shape and characteristics, no two strike-through errors appear exactly alike. This uniqueness makes them especially interesting because each represents an individual event during production. Clipped planchets begin before the coin is ever struck. Blank planchets are punched from long strips of metal. If one punch overlaps an existing hole or reaches the edge of the strip, the resulting blank will contain a curved missing section. When struck, the coin permanently retains that distinctive clip. Genuine clipped planchets display characteristic metal flow opposite the missing area, helping specialists distinguish authentic mint errors from damage occurring after the coin left the mint. These unusual shapes immediately attract attention and often encourage beginning collectors to learn more about minting errors. Wrong planchet errors remain among the rarest possibilities in modern coin production. On extremely uncommon occasions, a blank intended for another denomination accidentally enters the penny production line. When Lincoln cent dies strike that incorrect blank, the resulting coin differs in weight, size, color, or composition depending on the type of planchet involved. Modern quality control systems are designed to detect and remove such mistakes before coins leave the mint, making authenticated wrong planchet errors exceptionally scarce. Their rarity, combined with their obvious visual differences, makes them some of the most desirable modern mint errors. Another area collectors study involves die chips. Tiny fragments occasionally break away from raised portions of a working die, leaving small voids that produce raised bumps or extra metal on struck coins. Although many die chips are relatively minor, unusual examples occurring in prominent locations sometimes attract additional attention from specialists. Studying these imperfections also helps collectors understand how dies wear and deteriorate throughout their production lives. Condition plays an equally important role in determining collector appeal. A heavily circulated penny may show flattened design details, scratches, stains, contact marks, and diminished luster after years of use in commerce. By contrast, a coin preserved immediately after leaving the mint may retain brilliant original surfaces, sharp design details, and vibrant mint luster. Professional grading services carefully evaluate every aspect of a coin's preservation before assigning numerical grades that help collectors compare quality. High-grade modern Lincoln pennies often become surprisingly difficult to locate because even minimal handling introduces tiny marks that permanently reduce the grade. Many collectors search through original bank rolls hoping to discover pristine examples that escaped circulation altogether. Luster remains one of the most attractive characteristics of a freshly struck Lincoln penny. During striking, metal flows into every recess of the dies, creating microscopic flow lines that reflect light in a distinctive way. This brilliant appearance gradually disappears as coins circulate, making fully original luster highly desirable among collectors. Sharp strikes also contribute significantly to overall eye appeal. Coins struck with fresh dies and proper pressure display crisp lettering, strong details in Lincoln's portrait, and clearly defined features throughout the Union Shield reverse. Specialists often compare these details carefully because subtle differences in strike quality can influence collector preference even among coins without dramatic mint errors. One of the most rewarding aspects of searching for valuable Lincoln pennies is that knowledge improves observation. At first, every penny may appear virtually identical. Over time, however, collectors begin noticing tiny differences in lettering, unusual raised lines, faint doubling, incomplete design elements, or irregular shapes that previously went unnoticed. Developing this ability transforms ordinary pocket change into an endless source of discovery because every coin examined offers another opportunity to learn something new about the minting process. Patience becomes one of the collector's greatest strengths. Hundreds or even thousands of ordinary coins may pass through your hands before an unusual example appears, but the possibility of making that exciting discovery keeps collectors returning to coin rolls, estate sales, inherited collections, flea markets, and everyday circulation. Every search expands experience, increases knowledge, and sharpens the ability to recognize genuine mint errors when they finally appear, reminding collectors that remarkable discoveries often begin with nothing more than taking a closer look at an ordinary-looking penny. As collectors gain more experience studying modern Lincoln pennies, they quickly realize that every small detail deserves careful attention because the difference between an ordinary coin and a highly desirable collectible may be measured in fractions of a millimeter. This is why experienced numismatists often spend hours examining rolls of pennies under proper lighting with magnification, patiently searching for subtle clues that most people would never notice. A tiny raised line could indicate a developing die crack. A slightly distorted letter might point toward a doubled die variety. An unusual depression could suggest a strike-through error, while a coin with an unexpected shape may deserve additional investigation to determine whether it represents a genuine mint mistake or simple post-mint damage. Developing the ability to separate authentic mint errors from damage caused after a coin entered circulation is one of the most valuable skills any collector can learn. Many coins become scratched, bent, stained, or damaged through years of everyday use, but those forms of damage generally do not increase collector interest. Genuine mint errors, on the other hand, originate during the manufacturing process itself, making them part of the coin's original history. Learning to recognize this difference prevents costly mistakes while greatly increasing the chances of identifying a truly collectible example. One helpful habit involves comparing any unusual coin with another ordinary 2018 Lincoln penny. By placing two coins side by side, subtle differences become much easier to recognize. Variations in lettering, rim formation, strike quality, or design alignment often become obvious when viewed through direct comparison. Many collectors keep several common examples nearby specifically for this purpose, allowing them to study potential discoveries more carefully before drawing conclusions. Lighting also plays an essential role in examining coins. Rotating a penny beneath a bright light often reveals tiny raised features, shallow depressions, die polish lines, or faint doubling that remain invisible under ordinary viewing conditions. Experienced collectors frequently adjust both the angle of the light and the angle of the coin because different imperfections become visible as reflections change across the surface. This simple technique has helped countless collectors discover details that otherwise might have been overlooked. Magnification is equally important. While dramatic off-center strikes or clipped planchets can often be recognized immediately, many valuable varieties require closer inspection. A quality magnifier allows collectors to study the fine details of Lincoln's portrait, the lettering surrounding the design, the date, the mint mark when present, and the intricate lines of the Union Shield reverse. Tiny imperfections become much easier to identify when viewed at higher magnification, and with experienced collectors begin recognizing recurring patterns associated with specific categories of mint errors. Another fascinating aspect of coin collecting involves die polish lines. Mint employees sometimes polish working dies to remove clash marks or extend their useful life. As a result, coins struck from these polished dies may display fine parallel lines across portions of the design. Although die polish itself is not considered a major error, understanding its appearance helps collectors avoid confusing it with scratches or other forms of damage. Knowledge of normal production characteristics is just as valuable as understanding dramatic mint mistakes because accurate identification depends upon recognizing both. Die clashes represent another interesting phenomenon that occasionally attracts collector attention. A die clash occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. This accidental contact transfers faint impressions from one die onto the other. Coins subsequently struck by those damaged dies may display ghost-like outlines of design elements where they do not normally belong. Depending on the severity of the clash, these unusual impressions may range from extremely subtle to clearly visible. Collectors who specialize in die varieties often enjoy locating these distinctive features because they provide direct evidence of an unusual event during production. Another possibility involves retained cuds and progressive die failures. Rather than breaking away all at once, portions of a die sometimes begin separating gradually. Coins struck during different stages of this deterioration may exhibit increasingly dramatic raised areas as the fracture expands. Some collectors enjoy assembling groups of coins that illustrate each stage of a die's deterioration, effectively documenting the life cycle of a working die from its earliest crack to its eventual retirement. This aspect of the hobby combines careful observation with historical investigation, making every coin a piece of the mint's production story. While searching through rolls of 2018 Lincoln Pennies, collectors also pay attention to color. Fresh copper-plated zinc cents display a bright red appearance when first struck. Over time, exposure to air, moisture, and handling gradually changes the surface to reddish-brown and eventually brown. Coins retaining full original red color generally receive greater attention because they indicate exceptional preservation. Maintaining this original appearance becomes increasingly difficult as years pass, making attractive red examples especially appealing to collectors who appreciate outstanding eye appeal. Surface preservation extends beyond color alone. Contact marks, fingerprints, abrasions, stains, and environmental damage all influence the overall appearance of a coin. Even tiny imperfections can affect collector preference when comparing high-grade examples. This explains why careful handling is so important. Experienced collectors avoid touching coin surfaces directly whenever possible, instead holding coins by their edges to minimize the risk of leaving fingerprints or introducing additional marks. Proper storage also helps preserve a coin's condition. Coins stored loosely together often develop contact marks as they rub against one another. Humidity, temperature changes, and improper materials may contribute to discoloration or corrosion over time. Many collectors use archival quality holders designed specifically for long-term coin preservation, protecting their discoveries while allowing detailed examination whenever desired. Another rewarding aspect of the hobby involves researching production statistics. Although mintage numbers provide useful background information, they represent only part of the story. A coin produced in enormous quantities may still become desirable if relatively few examples survive in exceptional condition or if a particular mint era affects only a small portion of the total production. Understanding the relationship between mintage, survival rates, condition rarity, and collector demand helps explain why some seemingly ordinary coins attract significant attention, while others remain common despite their age. Coin grading introduces another layer of complexity. Professional grading services examine factors including strike quality, luster, preservation, eye appeal, and surface condition before assigning standardized numerical grades. Higher grades become increasingly difficult to achieve because each additional point requires noticeably better preservation. Collectors often appreciate how even the smallest differences in quality can dramatically change the overall appearance of a coin. Studying professionally graded examples teaches beginners what distinguishes average coins from exceptional ones and sharpens their ability to evaluate coins independently. Patience remains one of the greatest virtues in coin collecting. Many enthusiasts search through hundreds of rolls without finding a dramatic error, only to make an exciting discovery when they least expect it. Every examined coin adds experience, strengthens observational skills, and increases familiarity with normal production characteristics. This accumulated knowledge becomes invaluable because genuine discoveries often reveal themselves through subtle details that inexperienced eyes might overlook. Coin collecting also encourages curiosity about history, manufacturing, engineering, and artistry. Every Lincoln penny represents the combined efforts of designers, engravers, die makers, machine operators, inspectors, and countless others involved in the minting process. Understanding how these professionals transform simple metal blanks into finished coins adds another dimension to the hobby. Mint errors become especially fascinating because they illustrate moments when this highly controlled process briefly deviated from perfection, creating unique pieces that preserve evidence of those rare events. Searching pocket change can become an enjoyable routine rather than a chore. Every purchase, every handful of change from a cashier, every forgotten jar tucked away in a closet, and every inherited coin collection presents another opportunity to examine coins that might otherwise pass unnoticed. Families often enjoy searching together, comparing unusual finds and learning about mint errors while building memories that extend beyond the coins themselves. The excitement comes not only from the possibility of discovering something unusual, but also from developing knowledge that grows with every coin examined. Experienced collectors understand that success depends less upon luck than upon preparation. The more one learns about minting technology, die varieties, grading standards, and production errors, the greater the likelihood of recognizing an important discovery when it appears. This combination of education, observation, and persistence explains why the hobby continues attracting collectors of every age. Every 2018 Lincoln Penny examined becomes another opportunity to practice these skills, refine observational abilities, and deepen appreciation for the remarkable craftsmanship involved in producing even the smallest denomination of United States coinage. Whether the search reveals a subtle die crack, an unusual strike-through, an attractive high-grade survivor, or simply another example that contributes to growing experience, every coin teaches something valuable. Over time, these lessons accumulate, transforming casual curiosity into genuine expertise and reminding collectors that remarkable discoveries often begin with nothing more than taking a closer look at an ordinary-looking penny that nearly everyone else would have ignored. As your understanding of the minting process continues to grow, one of the most valuable habits you can develop is learning to slow down and examine every coin carefully rather than making quick assumptions based solely on its date or appearance. Many remarkable discoveries have been overlooked because someone assumed a modern penny could never be collectible, while experienced numismatists know that every coin deserves a careful inspection before being dismissed. The 2018 Lincoln Penny represents an excellent example of why patience and knowledge matters so much in coin collecting. Although millions were produced, only a very small percentage display genuine mint errors or survive in exceptional condition, and those are precisely the examples that attract the greatest attention from collectors. Every unusual feature becomes another clue pointing toward the coin's individual production history. Sometimes the discovery begins with something as simple as a slightly different reflection under proper lighting. A collector may notice an unusual raised line extending across Lincoln's portrait, or a small bump near the lettering that appears different from normal circulation damage. Closer examination with magnification may reveal a die crack, a die chip, or another production characteristic that transforms an ordinary-looking penny into an interesting collectible. This careful process of observation resembles detective work because every detail contributes another piece of evidence. Experienced collectors rarely rely upon a single characteristic when evaluating a coin. Instead, they examine multiple features together before reaching a conclusion. The rim, lettering, date, portrait, reverse design, luster, color, strike quality, and overall preservation all provide important information. When these characteristics are considered collectively, they create a much clearer understanding of how the coin was produced and whether it possesses qualities that distinguish it from ordinary circulation examples. Another important lesson involves recognizing the difference between rarity and popularity. Some coins become widely discussed because of internet stories or social media posts, while genuinely scarce mint errors may receive relatively little public attention despite being much more difficult to locate. Successful collectors therefore rely upon careful study, trusted references, and personal examination rather than rumors alone. This disciplined approach helps avoid disappointment, while increasing confidence whenever an unusual coin is discovered. Roll searching remains one of the most enjoyable ways to study Lincoln pennies because it provides large numbers of coins for comparison. Collectors often obtain bank-wrapped rolls, search each coin individually, separate any interesting examples, and return the remaining coins to circulation. Although this process requires time and patience, it also offers invaluable experience because repeated observation trains the eye to recognize subtle differences that become easier to identify with practice. Many collectors describe the excitement of opening each new roll as similar to opening a mystery package because every coin presents another opportunity for discovery. Estate sales, inherited collections, flea markets, antique stores, and old change jars also provide rewarding opportunities. Coins stored away for years sometimes remain in surprisingly attractive condition, while collections assembled decades earlier may contain overlooked varieties that were not widely recognized at the time. Examining these groups carefully often proves far more rewarding than making quick judgments based solely on appearance. Every collection reflects the habits and interests of its previous owner, adding another layer of history to the search. Modern technology has also transformed the hobby. Digital microscopes, high-resolution photography, and online educational resources allow collectors to study tiny details with remarkable clarity. Comparing a potential discovery against documented examples helps build confidence while improving identification skills. However, technology works best when combined with practical experience. Looking at thousands of genuine coins gradually develops an intuitive understanding that cannot be replaced by photographs alone. One interesting aspect of studying modern Lincoln pennies involves observing how dies gradually change during production. Fresh dies produce sharp details and brilliant surfaces, but as production continues, tiny imperfections begin appearing. Die polish lines, light cracks, and small chips gradually develop before eventually becoming more dramatic. Collectors who understand these progressive changes often recognize subtle die states that others overlook. This transforms even ordinary production coins into historical records documenting the life of a working die from its earliest strikes until retirement. Environmental preservation also deserves attention. Coins exposed to moisture, harsh chemicals, improper cleaning, or abrasive handling frequently lose much of their original appearance. Cleaning, in particular, often reduces collector interest because it permanently alters the surface created during striking. Experienced collectors generally prefer original surfaces, even if minor toning has developed naturally over time. Maintaining originality allows future collectors to appreciate the coin exactly as it left the mint. Education remains one of the greatest investments any collector can make. Reading reference books, studying authenticated examples, attending coin shows, joining collector organizations, and discussing discoveries with experienced numismatists all contribute to greater understanding. Every new piece of information improves the ability to identify genuine mint errors while avoiding common misconceptions. Over time, this accumulated knowledge becomes far more valuable than relying upon luck alone because informed collectors consistently recognize opportunities that others overlook. Another rewarding feature of coin collecting is that success is not measured only by financial value. The excitement of identifying a previously unnoticed die crack, understanding the mechanics behind a broadstrike, recognizing an authentic clipped planchet, or learning how strike pressure influences design details provides satisfaction regardless of market prices. Every discovery represents another lesson about history, engineering, craftsmanship, and attention to detail. This educational aspect explains why so many collectors remain enthusiastic throughout their lives. Sharing discoveries with family members and friends can also inspire new generations of collectors. Children often become fascinated after finding their first unusual coin, and simple searches through pocket change frequently spark lifelong interest in history and numismatics. Examining coins together encourages patience, observation, and curiosity while demonstrating that fascinating discoveries sometimes hide within the most ordinary objects. Many lifelong collectors trace their interest back to childhood moments spent searching pennies with parents or grandparents. The 2018 Lincoln Penny reminds us that remarkable stories often begin with coins that millions of people overlook every day. While most examples remain ordinary circulation pieces, the possibility of discovering an authentic mint error, an exceptional high-grade survivor, or an interesting production variety continues motivating collectors to search one coin at a time. Every examination improves observational skills, deepens appreciation for the minting process, and increases the likelihood of recognizing something unusual in the future. Coin collecting rewards persistence because important discoveries rarely happen through chance alone. Instead, they result from careful study, consistent practice, and the willingness to examine even the most common-looking coins with fresh curiosity. Every penny passing through your hands represents another opportunity to learn, another opportunity to compare details, and another opportunity to discover something that others may have missed completely. Whether you are just beginning your collecting journey or have spent years studying Lincoln pennies, continuing to search with patience, and an open mind keeps the hobby exciting because there is always something new to discover. Thank you for spending your time with Coin Discovery USA and exploring the fascinating world of the 2018 Lincoln Penny. Hopefully this journey has encouraged you to look more closely at the coins in your own collection and to appreciate the remarkable precision involved in producing every Lincoln cent. The next extraordinary discovery could begin with nothing more than an ordinary penny sitting quietly in your pocket, waiting for someone with the knowledge, patience, and curiosity to recognize that it has a story worth telling. As this journey comes to an end, the most important lesson to remember is that successful coin collecting is built on observation, patience, knowledge, and a genuine appreciation for the remarkable craftsmanship behind every coin produced by the United States Mint. Every 2018 Lincoln Penny you encounter represents another opportunity to practice those skills and another chance to discover something that countless other people may have overlooked. While the overwhelming majority of these pennies are ordinary circulation coins, genuine mint errors, unusual striking varieties, and exceptionally preserved high-grade examples continue to capture the attention of collectors because they tell unique stories about the minting process and the rare moments when production did not proceed exactly as intended. Each die crack, strike through, clip planchet, broad strike, off-center strike, die chip, grease-filled die, or other authentic mint error serves as a permanent record of a specific event that occurred during the creation of that coin. Those details transform simple pocket change into fascinating pieces of minting history, and remind us that even modern coins can hold surprises for those willing to look closely. The excitement of the hobby comes from never knowing when the next interesting discovery will appear. It may be hiding in a handful of change from the grocery store, inside a forgotten coin jar, in a roll from the bank, or among coins that have been sitting unnoticed in a drawer for years. Every search strengthens your ability to recognize important details, improves your understanding of how coins are manufactured, and increases your confidence in distinguishing genuine mint errors from ordinary wear or post-mint damage. Over time, those skills become far more valuable than luck because experienced collectors learn to recognize opportunities that others simply pass by without a second glance. Every coin examined adds another piece to your knowledge, and every lesson learned makes the next search even more rewarding. Remember that preserving your discoveries properly is just as important as finding them. Handle coins carefully by their edges whenever possible, avoid cleaning them, store them in appropriate holders designed for long-term preservation, and document any unusual characteristics you observe. If you ever believe you have found an especially significant mint error or an exceptionally well-preserved example, seeking evaluation from a reputable professional grading or authentication service can help confirm exactly what you have discovered. That extra step provides confidence, protects the coin, and contributes valuable information to your collecting journey. Most importantly, enjoy the process itself. Coin collecting is not only about searching for valuable pieces but also about learning history, understanding engineering, appreciating artistry, and developing the patience to notice details that most people overlook every day. Every Lincoln penny has traveled its own path through circulation, and each one carries a small piece of American history in your hand. Thank you for spending your time with Coin Discovery USA and joining us as we explored the fascinating possibilities surrounding the 2018 Lincoln penny, the minting process, and the genuine errors and varieties that continue to inspire collectors around the world. If you enjoyed this journey, keep checking your pocket change, continue expanding your knowledge, and never stop looking closely because the next memorable discovery could be waiting in the very next penny that passes through your hands. Until our next adventure, happy coin hunting, keep your eyes open, keep learning, and remember that every great collection begins with a single coin and the curiosity to take a closer look. As we wrap up today's journey, remember that every Lincoln penny has a story, and the next incredible discovery could be hiding in your pocket, your coin jar, or a forgotten collection waiting to be examined. The key to successful coin collecting is patience, careful observation, and learning to recognize genuine mint errors, rare varieties, and exceptionally well-preserved coins. The more you study your coins, the better your chances of spotting something truly special that others may have overlooked. Thank you for watching and spending your time with Coin Discovery USA. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay updated with the latest rare coin discoveries, valuable Lincoln Pennies, hidden mint errors, and fascinating coin collecting tips, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our newest videos. We regularly explore rare pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, half dollars, and other collectible coins that could still be hiding in everyday circulation. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and fellow coin collectors, and leave a comment below telling us what the most interesting coin you've ever found is or which coin you would like us to feature next. Your support helps our channel continue bringing you exciting coin discoveries from across the United States. Until next time, keep searching your pocket change, keep learning, keep collecting, and remember that every great coin collection starts with a single coin and the curiosity to take a closer look. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video on Coin Discovery USA.